All right, so now we're going to factor. We're going to factor by what's called the GCF first. So if you'll notice on this first one, I have 4x and 6y. Let's find the greatest common factors of the numbers first. And you remember from the last practice we did, we're going to use the smallest number first. Well, the factors of 4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. Remember, you can check that, or you can do 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. So that means 2 goes into it 2 times, so 2 and 2. Start with the highest number. See if it goes into 6. Well, what is 6 divided by 4? Gives me a decimal. Let's see if 2 goes into it. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we know 2 is my GCF for the numbers. Now let's look at our letters. Well, one has an X and one has a Y. So they don't have a letter part of the GCF. So whatever the GCF is, we're going to take it, in this case it's 2, and we're going to put it on the outside of the parentheses. And we know we're going to have parentheses. All right, so now we're going to divide both terms by 2, because that is my GCF. We're going to divide by the GCF. Well, what is 4 divided by 2 is 2. I can't do x divided by 2, so I'm just going to put an x there. And then what is 6 divided by 2? It's 3. And then y divided by 2, I can't do that, so I'm just going to put y. Great way to check yourself now. So that's my final answer. But now let's check ourselves by distributing this 2. Well, what is 2 times 2x? Well, it's 4x. That's good. What is 2 times 3y? It's 6y. So I know this answer is correct. That's my final answer. Let's look at, we're going to not do number 2 right now. Let's do number 3. Now, if you'll notice, number 3 has some negatives in there, but not to worry. Let's start with our 8 first. Let's list our factors of 8. So it's 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. All right, so now let's figure out which one goes into 16. Well, let's do 16 divided by 8, and that would give me 2. So I know 8 is my greatest common factor number-wise. So we know 8 is going to be outside the parentheses. Now let's look at our x's. Do they both have x's? Yes, they do. They both have x's. So remember, we're going to take the x with the smallest exponent, which is x to the first. So that is my GCF, 8x. There are my parentheses. I'm going to divide both of these by 8x. Well, what is 16 divided by 8? It's 2. What's x squared divided by x? Well, basically it's x times x over x. One set of x's cross out, left with an x. So let's divide negative 8x times positive 8x. Well, negative 8 divided by positive 8 is negative 1. And then my x's go away. So that's my final answer. If you want to check it, 8x times 2x is 16x squared. 8x times negative 1 is negative 8x. Let's try number 4. We've got 2 and 6. Let's start with the smallest number, which is 2. 1 and 2 are the factors. All right, so we know we're going to try to see if 2 goes into 6, and it does. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now let's look at my letter. So we know 2 is part of my GCF. Let's see if the letters have a part. Well, they both have A, so we know A is a part. Now which A has the smallest exponent? It's this one, A to the first power. So it's A to the first power as part of my GCF. So that means I'm going to divide both terms by my GCF, which is 2A. Well, what is 2 divided by 2? It's 1. What is a to the third divided by a to the first? Well, I can do it like this, a to the third over a to the first. One set of a's cross out. I'm left with an a squared. So I didn't need that 1 there because I've got an a squared to take its place. But if you put it, that's fine. Let's do negative 6 divided by positive 2. That's going to give me negative 3. And then my a's cancel. So that's my final answer. If I would distribute that through, it would give me that answer. All right, let's go back up to number 2 now. First of all, let's look at the smallest number, which is 6. Let's list the factors of 6. Now, we've got to find which number goes into both of these numbers. Got to go into all three of these, all right? Well, 9 divided by 6 doesn't give me a whole number. It gives me a decimal. Even though 6 goes into 12, it's got to go into all three evenly, and it does not go into 9. So now let's try 3. Well, 3 goes into 9, and I'm telling you 3 goes into 12 also. So we know 3 is part of my GCF. Now let's look at my letters. Do they all have X's? They do. So X is a part of my GCF. Now take the smallest exponent, which is a 1. So X to the first is my GCF. 3X to the first is my GCF. So let's divide everything by my GCF. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 6 divided by 3 is 2. I've got 3 X's on top, 1 X on the bottom. Those two cancel, leaves me a X squared on the top. Minus, what is negative 9 divided by 3? It is negative 3. X squared is XX over X. These cancel. 1's left. Let's do the last one. 12 divided by 3 is 4. X's cancel. So that's my final answer. If I were to distribute that throughout, this is what I would get. We'll worry about these two in class because if you'll notice they have X's and Y's and X's. We'll talk about those in class, so don't worry about these. All right, I'll see y'all in class.